Hello everyone, it's Elena and I'm back with another video, and I noticed that I haven't done a Q&A in quite a while, so I asked you guys for your questions on Instagram, and yeah, let's do it. Do you ever feel exhausted or unmotivated to study? Yes, lots of the time. I mean, you don't wake up every day and you're like, it's a great day to do work, you know? But I have a list of, things that I want to achieve, and a lot of these things require a law degree. So usually when I'm really unmotivated, I look at that list of goals that I want to achieve, and that does help me a lot with getting motivated. But there are days where, you're just like at a motivational low, and that's okay. That's perfectly normal. How do you take your notes? They look amazing. Thank you so much, that's really kind. I guess you probably mean my revision notes, which I make on my iPad, and I just try to make them look somewhat nice so that I'm somewhat motivated to actually look at them and revise. I make all of these in GoodNotes, and if you want a tutorial on like how exactly I make these notes, I have one on my channel. I'm gonna link it in the info box below, or you can also click on it up here. But yeah, basically it's GoodNotes and then just lots of drawing, adding pictures and stuff to make it look nice so that Elena wants to look at it later. Glad you chose Cambridge? Yes, I'm really glad that I chose Cambridge. For those of you who don't know, I ended up deciding between Cambridge and Princeton when I decided where to go for my undergrad. And honestly, I'm really grateful that I picked Cambridge. It turned out to be the perfect university for me. And yes, my first year was far from perfect, but I think the amount of support that I've gotten from the university when I had a mental health issue in my first year just shows me that I picked the right place. And I have no way of saying, whether at Princeton it would have been the same in terms of support or anything. But I can say that the support that I was given at Cambridge was exactly what I needed, and so it was the right place for me. And I really enjoy my degree, and yeah, just everything really worked out well. Where do you mostly buy your clothes? So I use an app called Vinted where you can buy secondhand clothes, and aside from that, I usually end up at Zara or H&M because they have things that are my style and that are in my student budget. What do you do in your free time from studying or on weekends? This. I make videos, I edit them, stuff like that. Aside from that, I usually read a little bit in whatever book that I'm currently reading, and yeah, I just do whatever I want. Like, I don't really have any plans for my free time. I mean, it's meant to be free time, so I really just do whatever I want to do. How are you? I'm okay. Not great, but okay. Now, I'm someone who normally doesn't mind being alone, but when you're forced to be alone all the time because of lockdown and stuff, then it starts to feel a bit like being lonely. So yeah, it's not the best of times, but I'm still in an okay headspace. It's just something that I've noticed that has been weighing down my mood. Just, this constant just being at home all the time and stuff. At some point, even us introverts are starting to be like, this is enough. But yeah, we're still staying home because that's the responsible thing to do. Why do you think you became such a good student? So, fun fact, I was a really bad student in like the beginning of middle school. And the only reason why I changed is because I started having a goal. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna work really hard in all these subjects so that I can study law. And I did that. But before then, I literally had zero goals, like no ambition. And so I just saw no reason for why I should put any effort in these subjects, and that's why I didn't do it. Would you like to do YouTube forever? No. I think once I'm done with my university journey, I will probably also stop making YouTube videos. So, if I end up doing a master's degree or a PhD, I may continue YouTube throughout that. But once I'm done with that, I would probably stop making YouTube videos, simply because I created this channel to talk about studying and university life. And, when those things are no longer really a part of my life, then I wouldn't really have much content for this channel. And I wouldn't want to keep it going, not having any great content up. Like, I would just want to stop at the right time and just keep a nice archive of these videos that I'm proud of. And yeah, that's sort of how I think it will probably end. But don't worry, I'm not thinking about leaving anytime soon. For now, I'm really happy with having this channel. I really enjoy making content, and yeah, not planning on leaving anytime soon. What is your favorite TV show or Netflix series? I really like The Vampire Diaries. I still rewatch that show at least once a year, and yeah, there are some bad seasons, but I think overall this show was just, a good watch, and it is still, in my opinion, enjoyable, And yeah, I just think overall it was a pretty good show. Do you want to continue your Chinese studies? Yes, I actually signed up for another Chinese course, so I'm gonna do another Chinese course in March. I did one last summer, and I'm so excited that I got into the second course, which is basically just a continuation of my beginner's course level from the summer. So yeah, let's hope I haven't forgotten everything. What is your favorite thing about this year abroad? P.S. I love your videos. Thank you so much. And I think my favorite thing about this year abroad is that I get to be with my family. I didn't really expect that to be the case, but I am really grateful for it, because I mean, I moved to boarding school when I was 16 years old, and this is really the longest time that I spent with my family in like one continuous period of time since I was 16. So I am really grateful that I just, you know, get to have that experience now. Would you like to be a mother in the future? Absolutely not. If there's one thing that I've learned from my summer daycare job, it's this: I don't like kids. Is it hard to study in German after having neglected that language? Honestly, yes and no. Yes, because I don't really know how to express my opinions and stuff. Like sometimes I'm just like, okay, I have a question, I know what I want to ask, but I can't put it into words. But since it's my native language, it's not that difficult to understand the lessons. Like, I understand everything that the teacher is saying. I just sometimes don't know how to put it into my own words. But luckily I don't have a problem with understanding it. It's just a problem of, you know, articulation on my part. Do you ever regret choosing law as your specialization? No. I honestly don't think I've ever regretted it. It's a hard degree, and sometimes I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? But it's also a very enjoyable degree. So I don't think I've ever, you know, really regretted it. How did you apply for your main scholarship, which is not from your university? So my other main scholarship is from a German foundation called the Studienstiftung, and there are a few different ways into the foundation, but one is that your high school recommends you to the foundation, and then they invite you to apply. And that's what happened with me. So basically they already send you the application, you just fill it out and send it back. And then there's also a selection weekend, and yeah, after that they decide whether you get in. But you can also self-apply, and you can also get recommended by a professor once you're in university. If any of you guys are interested in the foundation, I'm going to link it in the info box below. I don't think this is a perfect translation, but I think it's in English like, how do you manage to calm down in the evening after uni? So I guess, you know, like getting rid of the stress in your head and stuff. To be honest, I don't have that much of a problem with it, simply because my brain after 6 p.m. is just like, yep, nighttime, goodbye. And yeah, then I just don't really think about it anymore, simply because I'm tired and I just, you know, want to sit on my bed, watch some Netflix or read a little bit in my book, and that's kind of it. Which uni do you like better, Cambridge or Regensburg? While I think both are great universities, I personally prefer Cambridge because the teaching style is more what I like. Because at Cambridge you have supervisions, and so you have a lot more close contact with the teachers, and you know, you can ask a lot more questions during these supervisions. You dive into the topics a lot deeper because you have a course for an entire year and not just a semester. So yeah, I just prefer like the teaching model of Cambridge, but Regensburg is a good university as well. It's just a different style of teaching, and I think I vibe a little bit more with the Cambridge style. Who is your inspiration in life? My mom. Did university being online change your productivity level? Yeah. I think, you know, everything being online has just made it more difficult for me to be productive, because I'm someone who very much relied on being in the library, you know, to be productive. That was my productive space. And it really just helped me to get out of my room, away from my bed, and then do my work somewhere else. I also found it really helpful to, you know, have lectures that you have to show up for. So you have a schedule, you know, you don't feel like you could just waste the day away and it wouldn't matter. And with online uni, it sometimes does feel like that. So it is just harder because you have to have a lot more self-discipline, and you can't go to places like the library because lockdown. And you can't go to, you know, the library or something because of lockdown. So it definitely has been more difficult for me, but at the end of the day, I'm really glad that I didn't have to do in-person classes, because I'm just not sure if it would have been really safe. How do you experience studying civil law after in combination with common law? So the UK is a common law jurisdiction, so they rely a lot on case law, whereas Germany is a civil law jurisdiction relying a lot on statute law. I personally prefer common law simply because it is, in my opinion, a little bit more interesting to study, because for all the rules in your head, you have some interesting stories from the case law in your head as well, and to me that makes it easier to remember. Like, I find it a lot harder to just remember a paragraph number from a certain statute than if I have a case where I have a story in my head attached to the rule. To me, that's easier to remember, but that's just like a personal preference. Given COVID, are exchange programs still worth it? I think it really depends on your reasons for why you want to go on an exchange. So for me personally, my exchange is still 100% worth it to me because I went on an exchange to learn more about German law, and I'm still getting that out of the exchange now. But I think, you know, if you have other reasons that are really important to you as well, like for example, wanting to be in a different country or, you know, on a specific campus and stuff, then I think it might not be the best time to go on an exchange program. But just one thing to keep in mind is that when everything is online, it can be quite hard to meet new people at first. That's definitely like a big negative for me with this exchange, but at the end of the day, this year is just very unpredictable. What's your favorite YouTube channel? It's an ASMR channel. Her channel is called Gloss and Tingles ASMR, and I just love watching her makeup videos. Like, I find them just very relaxing. I get these tingles on my head from them, and yeah, I just like watching them to calm down. Why did you choose St. John's? I did not have a good reason for picking my Cambridge college because I did not put any thought into that choice. Like, I literally just looked at a drop-down menu on UCAS where you apply, and St. John's was listed as the choice with the letter X, and I was like, oh, X is a cool letter, I'm gonna pick St. John's. And that was my reason for picking John's. I hadn't even looked at a picture of John's. I was very surprised to find out that John's looks like Hogwarts when I got in, because I hadn't known until then, which is so embarrassing. So don't do that, okay? Actually research the colleges and make an informed choice about where you end up. I was so lucky to end up in John's, in this amazing place which really suits me so well. But actually research the colleges beforehand. It is a good idea to do that. Have you ever had a boyfriend? No. Do you regret doing the exchange year during the pandemic? No, I don't. I was actually given an option not to do this year abroad during the summer. So my university said, well, normally, you know, once you accept the place, you do have to go. But because there's a pandemic, we are giving you an option to say you no longer want to do it. But for me, it felt like the more responsible thing to just stay in my home country, Germany, where I already was. Go to Regensburg by car instead of, you know, taking the train and a plane to Cambridge and, you know, then being in this other place. It just felt like that would be a lot more travel and stuff than me going to Regensburg. And I mean, I ended up just basically being at home, and that's okay. But yeah, overall it just felt like it was responsible for me to just stay here when I could, so I don't regret it. I made that choice very consciously, and I'm still getting a lot of, you know, German law knowledge out of this exchange, but it is of course not exactly ideal. Are you thinking of doing a PhD after you graduate, or do you want to start to work? I do want to do a PhD because I just love the idea of, you know, really diving deep into one topic and researching that and becoming an expert on it. Like, it just sounds very appealing to me. For how long will your mom live at your grandparents' house? So for those of you who don't know, my mom went and helped my grandma with caring for my grandpa because he got out of a care home and he was doing very bad, and so he just needed a lot more care than he did before, and my grandma wasn't used to that, so my mom was like, well, I'm going to support you in the first few weeks. My mom has actually come back. She was there for 4 weeks, but now she's here again, and my grandma's still adapting, but my grandpa is doing a lot better, which we are all really, really grateful for. Do you study more after your life study with me is finished? No, I am very tired at 6 p.m, so no more studying then. I do sometimes do some work beforehand, but definitely not after. Will your grades during your exchange year count towards your final grade in Cambridge? No, they won't. Cambridge doesn't accept these grades, so Cambridge only uses their own grades that they've given to you for calculating your final grade. So I will get a transcript from Regensburg, but it will not count towards my degree. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for all your questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a nice day. Bye!